It's an abysmal way to start the season for the New York Giants. You have Lawrence Taylor, Eli Manning, all these guys that have brought championships to New York. And for this team to show up the way they did in week one, and I understand it's week one, my friend Sessa said it best. The only thing that was more horrible was the uniform. That was the more ugly aspect. But this was an all around horrible, horrible performance. In my 25 years watching football, this is one of the top five or top 10 worst Giants performance I've ever seen. It doesn't matter whether it's regular season or postseason. I'm not even gonna go into stats because it almost triggers my acid reflux. So I'm not even gonna go to the stats part. But Jason, take it from there. What are your thoughts on Vikings
Yeah.
Giants week one?
Oh, it was just like last year's opening day on week one, where they got blown out of their own building by the Cowboys. And you mentioned the uniforms. They're wearing Montreal Canadian uniforms, which I don't like. They're okay, but not for me. And as you mentioned, they had all the Giants legends there. Lawrence Taylor, Manning, whoever was there. And if I was them, I would have been hiding by halftime. I would have been hiding in the back and underneath the cars or whatever, because that was a pitiful performance. It was just like last year. Um, they couldn't run the ball. They didn't get enough protection for Daniel Jones. He couldn't uh, he couldn't complete any big passes. He couldn't throw the ball downfield. I mean, the defense was okay, but it wasn't. The secondary got lit up by Sam Donald just about on every third and long, and the pass rushers Burns and Thibodeau, they did okay, but really they didn't. They got some pressure, but they didn't sack the quarterback anywhere near enough. I think uh, Dexter Lawrence had the only sack of the game for the Giants. I'm pretty sure that's who got the sack. But other than that, it was uh, it looked like a team that didn't practice. I mean, it was bad on all facets of the game. The only thing that was okay was special teams. They did a decent job. But other than that, it was not a good performance, especially at home against the mediocre Vikings team that probably a non-playoff team. Was not a good start.
Sam Darnold is the guy that he's in his last hurrah in the sense of terms of trying to prove himself they can play as a starter in this
Right.
league. And he's fortunate that JJ McCarthy got hurt and he got the opportunity. So he was okay. He wasn't impressive, but he was okay. But the Giants, Daniel Jones, and the head coach, the ball, both of them, this season is a pressure season for them.
I agree.
Because one would argue that the head coach is on the hot seat, and one would argue that this could be Daniel Jones' final stop in New York if he doesn't deliver. If you said it best, this is a team that looked like they didn't practice. This is a team that didn't look like they watched film. This is a team that they probably went to the club the night before and they were hungover. This was a team that probably had a sleepover and had pizzas and donuts, whatever the hell it was. It just did not look like a team that was ready to play and win the game for week one. It was that bad. It was that horrible. It was that unprepared. And, coach, he gave a typical head coach speech. We have to do better and all
Right.
this blah blah blah. But this is why I always feel that fans they care more than the players and coaches,
Well,
and
that's a
that's a
fact.
controversial,
No,
and
that's
that could come across as a controversial comment, but I don't care. It's the truth.
yeah.
Us fans, we care more. We care more about winning than the players and the coaches do. Um, we've seen this so many times where when there's a bad performance, they say the typical cliche things. That's why sometimes I even hate seeing press conferences because it's like you're gonna hear stupid questions and you're gonna hear obvious answers. So, but this was bad. This was super bad.
Yeah.
And if this is how the offense will look for the rest of the season, then it's gonna be a long season. And again, I'm a loyal guy, so win or lose, I'm gonna wear some attire, as you can see. So I'm not one of these fans that I'm just gonna root for this team when they're only winning, because there's
Oh,
a
of
lot of
course.
fans that are like that. You gotta be there in the ups and downs. But this offense, everything was just
Uh,
bad. It was
You,
just
you
bad all around.
you mentioned Coach, Drabel. I watched the press conference now too. The after the game press conference, and he gave some insight. I know a lot of questions that were excellent. He said, "Oh, I'm gonna have to go look at the tape. I'm gonna have to go look at the film on that. We could be better." He did say though, um, and if you watch the game, Minnesota's defense pretty much played a zone defense, which basically they had four pass rushes against the Giants, against Daniel Jones, and they dropped seven people back. So for you to beat the zone, you have to run the ball. The Giants couldn't run the ball at all. They had Singletary ran. He had 10 carries for only 37 yards. Not nowhere near good enough. And then also you got to be able to. The wide receivers have to be able to either go to the sideline or find the soft spot in the zone, and the quarterback has to deliver the ball. That's how you beat the zone. And the Giants did none of that. And also, what you said, mentioned, follow up with the coach and GM being of the Giants having pressure on them. A half hour after the game was over, I already heard people saying, "Oh, they're gonna have to bring in Bill Belichick, or they're gonna have to fire all these guys, and we're gonna have to bring up a whole new GM and coaching staff coming into next season." So it was that bad. Now they're going to play Washington this Sunday in Washington. They're underdogs. So Washington had a poor performance also. So maybe the Giants can get some things right. But it didn't look good Sunday's opening game.
Right now, Saquon Barkley is laughing hysterically right now. Hysterically. And I got to give credit. He looks great in the Eagles uniform. He looks great in the Eagles uniform.
Green Bay
So,
did turn the ball over for him a whole bunch of times. They had four turnovers from the 50 inside all the way up until the 10 or 15, wherever they had a couple other fumbles and they handed the ball off. So, no, he did run. He had over 100 yards. But Green Bay, Green Bay, in that game, Green Bay's defense was not good either. They looked way off. But
yeah, that's
you
fair.
have to give him credit. He did what he had to do. I get it. He got the three touchdowns, but different situation. I mean, Philadelphia could probably be a team that could have a playoff run to possibly the Super Bowl. The Giants look like a team that is on their way to the top of the draft if they don't get their play straightened out.
Fair enough. And I want to see Saquon Barkley go up against an elite team to see
Yeah,
how he will respond to an elite
right,
defense. He's talented, he's gifted. As long as he stays healthy and can produce, I mean, yes, the Eagles are our rivals, but Saquon Barkley, I like him. I'm a fan of him. I'm rooting for him to succeed, and hopefully he stays healthy. I don't, you know, he did what he could for the Giants, but it's
right.
just that the Giants have a lot of missing holes. I should say they have a long way to go. They really do. But back to the Giants.
And what's the
They
combo?
lucky. They're lucky.
Yeah,
They're lucky that they're going against Washington
right.
in week 2. And this is no, not to Washington, no, not to the rookie Jaden
Daniels.
Daniels,
Right,
who's one of the few rookies who's starting this season alongside with Bo Nix and Caleb Williams.
right. They're good.
It's just seeing these guys go from college to the pros. It'll be interesting to watch. But the Giants, they had to win week 2. They had to. If they would have showed up prepared, they could have faced a chance to go up 2-0 to start the season.
Right.
But that's not the case. Minnesota took off their belts and basically whipped them. Um,
Yeah,
but it was
they
uh,
made Sam Donald. He looked like the MVP of the NFL, Mike, with the performance he had. I couldn't believe what he. I was like, this is incredible. I was saying to myself.
oh boy, this was bad, super bad.
And
I'm
with Saquon, back to the Barkley, a lot of Giants, a lot of experts, in the NFL, they said that the Giants shouldn't have picked him. The Giants needed a quarterback or offensive lineman, and that's what they should have went instead of picking Barkley 6 years ago, whenever that was. I can't remember now. But they thought that was a mistake from the Giants because the Giants needed all of the things, mostly offensive lineman, tight end, and they wound up getting a running back, which is not the most valuable position in the NFL unless you have the top running back or one of the top running backs.
To wrap it up, let's go a little bit to Hard Knocks.
Oh,
With the Giants. I almost forgot about it, but
yeah,
then I
no,
just remember right now. This is no right or wrong answer, you know. I like I mean, Hard Knocks is not one of those shows that I follow consistently. I mean, when it comes to sports, I'm a sucker for films, documentaries, shows, anything sports related. I'm a sucker for that. Hard Knocks, like we spoke yesterday,
right,
off camera. There's only two that I've seen. The very first episode with the Baltimore Ravens,
right.
um, the
I watched that
2000
one.
championship team, and this one with the Giants. Because we're Giants fans, I had to see it. One of the things that I enjoy about Hard Knocks is that you get to see how it all works in the front office.
Right,
I loved it. I loved it because it shows you who's connected to who's in what position, who's what, and you hear everyone voicing their opinions. I like that. I enjoy that because we don't see that in terms of how it is behind the scenes at the front office because you have the scouts, you have the assistants and all this other stuff. So I really like that aspect of the documentary. But at the same time, you saw how it made the front office look bad because of some of the decision makings
right.
that we're doing. So, but what's your opinion
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
no.
episode?
So right, so the Giants said this is the first year of the off season Hard Knocks that they did for whatever how many episodes it was, and it was good. Like you said, I was you see all the inside what goes on. Like I say, everything we don't know what's going on in the front office, but I could tell you that it hurt the Giants a little bit because um Coach Drabel came off a little arrogant at times, with his feet up on the furniture all the time. He got Wink Martindale, the defensive. Well, I'm not gonna say he got him fired, but there was a separation. He was the head coach, and the Giants had to bring in a new defensive coordinator. So he won that dust up only because he was the coach. And also, you could see that the Giants owner Mara, he was not happy most of the time. Most of the time, almost in every scene he was like this with his arms crossed, sitting down. He did not look happy with the Barkley negotiations. Them not be able to, they showed that they're looking to get a quarterback. They were looking to trade up in the draft. None of that panned out. So and they didn't. When they did have that pick, they didn't pick a quarterback. They picked Neighbors, the big time wide receiver. But you could see that there's some dissension in the Giants front office there with the owner, which he's the most important guy because he's the one who signs the paychecks. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the pros and cons of that docu-series. One of the things that I also liked was oh my God, I had it on the top of my head. Oh yes, the interviews, interviewing the prospects
All
for the
right,
draftings. I like that. I like that. I feel that when you're on the verge, when you're on the verge of drafting players, it's good to do that, to have interviews because you get a feel of the kind of personality they have. And also you test them, their knowledge and, how prepared they could be to come play for a big market like New York. Because not for everyone, not everyone is made to play in a big market, like
that's
New
true.
York. But I like that. There's things that I liked about the docu-series. But at the same time, it did make them look back in certain aspects, especially the head coach. You said it, putting his feet up, and
Right, he
because you
came
don't
off
see,
sometime as
but but
yeah.
but then again, that's modern head coaches for you. Modern head coaches, these are a few things that we're seeing from coaches nowadays. I would say this that there are certain head coaches that they get promoted to a head coaching position with no experience, probably because one of the reasons it could be that the owners will make it more easier to control them, you know? That's why they aim for the new one instead of the experienced one, because they don't want someone to they basically, and to make this short, they want a yes
Yeah.
man.
Well,
They
right,
they
but
want
that's
a
not
yes
always the
man.
best thing, you know.
It's not always the best thing. Me personally, I'm not a yes man to everything. So,
The Knicks
and
and Rangers have
usually,
been the Knicks and Rangers have been doing that for years, and you could see they've won one championship between them in 100 years. So it's not working all the time. You know, sometimes you got to let the coach do his coaching.
yeah, you gotta let them, do what they have to do. But when you start getting control of and, basically that's you know I don't know. It's just the head coaching nowadays is it's tough to be a coach nowadays in any profession, any league, because you can't discipline the players like you once did.
Right. Well, that's true. That's true.
A lot of these players are overpaid. They get pampered and baby too much. So it's
I
hard to
agree.
be a coach nowadays.
You know, I agree.
Like I respect coaching. I do think to a certain degree that coaching is overrated, but at the same time, I feel that disciplinary is basically gone, almost gone. You can discipline players nowadays. The minute you discipline a player, they want to demand a trade. They can't take it. So
But yeah, no, I mean, again, like you also have to win as a coach. Like you could be more cocky when you win. You have to win like Bill Belichick and Pat Riley
yeah,
and Phil
yeah.
Jackson and Joe Torre when he was here with the Yankees. You know, when you win, you could
Uh,
be a little bit more.
Out of respect, Jason, because I don't like interrupting. Out of respect for you, but I just had to say this because it's important and it's something I could recommend you. Bill Belichick, I don't know if you know this, but he has a YouTube channel now.
No, I didn't. I didn't know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I know he's doing
I,
the.
I suggest you start checking in
I will.
his YouTube channel
Right,
and John Gruden's.
Bill Belichick and okay, I got it. I'm right. I'm gonna go YouTube. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll look it up.
And the reason I mention it because you can tell the level of intelligence that Bill Belichick has for the game of football. As for John Gruden, which I've always been a fan of him as a coach, but this guy, he eats, sleeps, breathes football. That man you could tell that man loves football. So I recommend you to watch those two YouTube channels. Once again, I didn't mean
No.
to
Yeah,
interrupt.
no, no,
I
no.
just
You
had to throw that
understand?
in
I
there
got
before I
you.
forget.
Yeah, no,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
and right. So I was just going through like Tony La Russa, like those top guys, they they get more respect because they win sooner or later. So that's part of how it works. So Drabble has to win if he really wants to be like like the toast of the town.
But yeah, man. Yeah. Now we have to stay tuned for week two.
Yeah, we'll
See
see.
what happens there. Stay tuned for updates. Because anything can happen, injury report, anything new. So we just have to wait for week two and hopefully we won't be too disappointed compared to week one.
We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, they'll get the win on next Sunday or this coming Sunday, I should say, and we'll take it from there.